when did I first know about the Memorial Cup? Obviously I was a big fan of the Moose Jaw Canucks growing up in Moose Jaw, and that was my first love. I loved the Chicago Blackhawk jerseys. They were sponsored by back in those days, Regina was Montreal and Moose Jaw was Chicago, and Estevan was the Bruins, and I really was looking forward to the day that I could play major junior hockey in Moose Jaw and wear that Moose Jaw Canuck jersey. And since then, the Warriors, but they changed the jersey. But the year I turned 17, the team in Moose Jaw folded. So I really was getting set to play junior B hockey in Moose Jaw again when Del Wilson called from Regina, and he and Earl Ingerfield, who was the coach at that time, they wanted to come down and talk to us. So I ended up in Regina, and that's kind of like the first that I had ever really realized, what trophy do you play for in major junior hockey, and I found out about the Memorial Cup, and we got pretty close to it the first year. We had 13 rookies the first year we played. Played together, and we went to the Western Final, lost to Edmonton in the Western Final. So we almost got to the Memorial Cup my rookie year, which was kind of neat. Well, that was kind of a culmination when in 71, 72, when I joined the Pats, we had 13 rookies. And myself, and Dennis Sobchuk, and Mike Wanchuk, and Greg Jolly, and just there were a bunch of guys, Billy Bell, and Rick Urich, and I could go down the whole list pretty much. So it was really we were starting a building phase of, you build 3 years and hopefully you win the Memorial Cup, and then you start over and you go 3 years and hopefully you win the Memorial Cup. We had great success that first year, going to the Western Final, and then the following year we kind of stumbled a little bit. We got beat by Flin Flon in the first round of the playoffs, which was a real eye-opener for that group because that was really built to, as I said, to win. We got close the first year. We thought we might have a chance the second year, and I think maybe we were a little overconfident. But that third year, we had made a couple of changes. Brad Anderson and Glenn Ing got traded to Victoria for Dave Faulkner, I believe. And made a couple other little changes, brought up some of the junior Canadians, John Hammond and Mike Wierkowski and Mike Razny. And, the timeline isn't exactly perfect, but these were all kind of additions from that original 13 guys that we had, and that was a special year for us because we went into that year after getting slapped in the face by Flin Flon the year before. We were a pretty focused bunch, as focused as 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids can be. The thing that was really key about that last year of our junior. The third year for everybody, is that at Christmas time we didn't take 2 or 3 weeks off. We ended up going to Sweden, and we played in it was called the Hearn Cup, and it was teams from Sweden, Finland, I think there was a Russian team there, Czechoslovakia, and it was a men's tournament. We played against a men's league, and it really kept us focused and kept us going for the 2 weeks instead of taking that off and going home and eating a lot of turkey and drinking a lot of beer at Christmas time. We worked pretty hard over there, and we came back, went into the second half of the season, and really kind of breezed right through the second half of the season. So that was a real focus. That was a real key for us, I think, was Del Wilson and Bob Turner at that time having the wherewithal to get us out of here and get us over there and keep us in shape a little bit. It was a great hockey team. We had Dennis Sobchuk was he didn't last until the NHL draft. He signed a contract with the Cincinnati Stingers. He signed a big deal, $1 million, 10 years, $100,000 a year, which was huge back in 1974. Greg Jolly, who was the number 1 overall pick. I was 4th overall pick. Bunch of other guys that got drafted pretty high. Mike Wanchuk went to Montreal. So we had a really, really talented team. We had great goaltending with Eddie Stanowski and, solid defense right up and down. So, and a tough team too. We had a very tough team at that time. So we had all the physical attributes you needed. We were talented, we were tough, and we were pretty focused and healthy, of course. We didn't get hurt too much. So to win the Cup is a complete drain, and to win a Memorial Cup is the same thing. You had to win 4 pretty tough series, 3 series to get to the Memorial Cup, and then, the round robin tournament, and it's not easy when you're playing against the best of the best in junior hockey. So I think it showed me what focus was needed. I think it showed me that you really had to sacrifice a lot of things during that 6 or 8 week period. It was a grind, and taking that into the NHL and going in to a very young team. Fortunately for me, I was able to step right in with the likes of Billy Harris, who was the first pick in '72, Dennis Poffin in '73, me in '74, and also Brian Trotcher, who they grabbed in 1974, which was a pretty slick move by Bill Torrey. So we all went into a pretty good team. And we had a lot of guys from the West, too, at that time. We had Lauren Henning, Gary Howitt, Bobby Nystrom, Dave Lewis, Bobby Bourne, who also got drafted by Kansas City in the second round. We got him in a trade. So Bourne was an elite Western Hockey League junior at that time. So we had the makings of a pretty good hockey team right off the bat. It took us 6 years to get through some trials and tribulations to get to the Stanley Cup. But, you just never forget what it took to win a Memorial Cup. And I always use that as a bit of bragging rights. Anytime someone would start, getting on me about something, I just go, excuse me, let me ask you a question. Did you ever win the Memorial Cup? No, I didn't. Well, then shut up. Because and it would shut people up. The Memorial Cup in the NHL, when you ask guys, anybody played in the NHL that won a Memorial Cup is on another level. And then to add the Stanley Cup to that, it's you kind of go through all the tiers, junior to pro, and when you win those championships, it puts you in a pretty elite group. Well, it's a process. I mean, we finished first overall in '78, '79 and lost to Toronto. 77, 78, excuse me, and then 78, 79, we were first again, and we lost to the Rangers. So I think those 2 defeats really helped us figure out what it was going to take to actually win. Our knock against our team was that we weren't quite physical enough in those 2 series, especially in the Toronto series. I think in the Rangers series, in the semifinals against the Rangers, we just got beat by John Davidson. He was truly, in my opinion, the difference in that series. But, there's things that, the sacrifices, like I said, that you have to make. We obviously didn't make them all, or we would have won. And then the following year, we played LA in the first round, then we played the Boston Bruins. And this was really where our team took another step. And we were challenged by them physically. And I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say we won 99% of those battles. And it really put us in the eyes of everybody else in the league. We said, holy cow, we know they're really good, but now they know they're really tough. And like I said, that was a big step for us. And we just, I wouldn't say we steamrolled through the rest of the playoffs. We beat Buffalo pretty easily, and then we had a great series against Philly. But that series against Boston was really I think the real big step for us to prove to ourselves that we could really play tough and battle against the likes of Boston and the likes of Philly. And we did that, for the next 4 years. Yeah, no, it's tough to remember. It's now 74, 43 years ago. And but I remember being treated like, with all the class you could ever want to be treated. We still drove the bus from Regina we didn't fly to Calgary from Regina, which would have been nice. But we got into Calgary, and, you're one team. There's 3 teams there, and you got all this NHL scouts are there. You got all the press from every Western Hockey League town, and basically from all over Canada. You get the Quebec press and you get the Ontario press, and they put you on a pretty high pedestal, and you walk around the hotel and guys are looking at you, and you kind of feel special, But I think the coolest thing was the amount of NHL people there, owners, general managers. The top scouts were there, and they're all, they got their eye on you, and they've been watching you all year. They've been watching you for 3 years, probably, the truth be known. But this is a real opportunity to to really stand up and show them what you have. And that was an opportunity that I hope I took advantage of. I had a fight in the final game against Richards Nantes from the Quebec Ramparts. I don't know what the heck the score was. We were down anyway, 3-2 or something like that, and kind of flat. And I came out in the second period and challenged them to a fight and beat them. And we were winning 5-3 after the second period. So I think that really stood out in a lot of guys' minds, especially in Bill Torrey's eyes. For a guy to go out there that I had some ability, and then to go out there and change the game around like that was a quality that he was really looking for. So just little things like that, you have a chance to kind of showcase yourself. So I think that was a special part of it. But that was as close, as you're going to get to. Without actually being in the NHL, the atmosphere and everything else that was going on, because I felt the same thing when we were, in Stanley Cup Finals. You got every representative from every team, press, GMs, everybody comes to Stanley Cup Finals, and and you got national TV, and you got everybody's focused on you and the other team, and it's a pretty special moment. That was somewhat difficult. I will say that team, that Memorial Cup team, we got together a lot. I'd come back, I'd see all the guys. I had them all. I got married my first year I turned pro. I got married that following summer, and I had all the guys down for my wedding, and it was quite a bash in Moose Jaw. But we saw each other 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year reunions. We just did a 40th reunion 3 years ago, and knock on wood, we were all there except for one guy. Poor Rick Urick had passed away about 2 weeks before the reunion, which was pretty sad. But it really, we developed a bond with that bunch of players that same thing I have with my Stanley Cup teammates. It's the same thing with my junior guys. At that 40th reunion, it was like we had just left each other 40 years ago. All we could talk about were things that happened in Calgary, things that happened during the playoffs, and pretty special moments. And those are a pretty special group of guys. Yeah, that was a lot of that. Yeah, and Billy Bell, I know, became a postman, and Drew Callender became a cop, and Warkowski and Erasny were firemen, and Dennis Sobchuk obviously played some pro. Mike Wanchuk went on to play some pro. Greg Jolly, of course. Eddie played a lot of years until he retired and went in the Army. But it didn't matter. When we all got back together, it didn't matter whether I'd won a cup or I had a success with the Islanders, or I wasn't a big shot amongst those guys. I was one of those teammates, that won the Memorial Cup, and everybody, to this day, everybody just gets treated the same way, so it's kind of nice, knock on wood, we had, 99% of our guys at that reunion. Too bad it wasn't everybody, but we had a blast. We spent 3 days together. We played a little golf. We had a couple of parties, and we culminated at the last night we were here with a big barbecue at a guy's farm just east of town here, and we sat around and told stories, and it was a pretty special moment for all of us. Yeah, I think they've got quite a few special events planned for the Memorial Cup. I've been talking to a few guys about some events. We'll be back during that period, and I think the Pats being the 100th anniversary, and the Pats were the first team to win the Memorial Cup 100 years ago. That's pretty neat to have that back here in Regina on this occasion like that. So I want to be part of that. It's great to get back home. Grew up 45 minutes away from here. I'll be a bunch of people from Moose Jaw probably coming down for that. So it'll be an opportunity for me to visit not only family but friends from Moose Jaw and a lot of people I know here in Regina. You kind of have to get adopted when you come from Moose Jaw, because Moose Jaw and Regina are like oil and water when you're playing hockey. I grew up playing hockey against a lot of these guys that I was playing with, although we did have a lot of guys from out of town. But you have to come in and kind of prove yourself to the Regina people because, don't we have somebody like that in Regina? Why are we bringing this kid from Moose Jaw? We've hated this guy for the last 16 years of his life growing up playing hockey against him. We're not 16, but a good 10 of it anyway. And so I came in here, and I wasn't really sure, but then I adjusted very quickly. I went to a new high school, and it was a real adjustment period that first year. But the fact that we had so many guys from out of town, and we were all kind of adjusting to the same thing, we were able to do it together, so it wasn't that difficult. But the people in Regina, fell in love with us pretty quick. I had the opportunity to play with Sobchuk and Wanchuk, so the two Ukrainians, and they changed my name, so we had Sobchuk, Wanchuk, and Gilchuk. So we were a pretty good trio early on, right from the start. So kind of fan favorites, and being as good as we were, even early on, the old exhibition stadium, which I see is gone now. That place, that old barn was full just about every night, and it was pretty exciting to, not only you love playing in front of a full house, and it would have been nothing worse to play in that building if there was nobody in it. I can tell you that. So we kind of lit a fire under the fans pretty quickly here, and they gave us great support, for the 3 years that I was here.
We actually were hoping to go and shoot it or Google it, and they tore it down in January. I was like, it's standing for 99 years.
I know. I was
6 months.
I was here. Was here last year and did a little piece with one of the guys from the Pats, and Mark Rathwell, I think it was, and it was nice. It was strange to be back in there and to go into the old locker room and go, oh my God, we actually. We actually dressed in here, and this was our home locker room. It was pretty bad, but at that time we didn't know any better. It was coming from Moose Jaw, and the Crush Can in Moose Jaw, the Civic Center. The two rinks were kind of comparable, and those were big time rinks for us when we were kids growing up.